So I just wanted to show you how to use a pipe between a child and a parent process within one program. So what is a pipe? Pipe is just a way of communicating between two processes. So if we have a process 1 and a process 2, we can send an information here byte by byte from one process to another. We have two ends. So the easy way to imagine what is a process is if we have a program A CPP and we have a program B CPP. Okay, if we create a message here, let's say hello, can we print it here? Can we print our message here? No, that's an easy question, not a trick question. Of course we cannot. Why can't we do that? It's because program A has its own virtual address space. It keeps its data here. Okay, this is where it has its data, and we put our message in here, but our program B has its own virtual address space. It has its own data, and within its own data it doesn't have this message, so we cannot print it, we cannot use it in any way. And how can we have two processes in one program? Let me show you. Okay, if we have our C CPP, it will have its main, right? Let me just put a box because we're gonna break it into 3 parts. This part is gonna be a parent process, then we're gonna have a parent process here, and in the middle we're gonna have a child process. Okay, in order for us to create a second process within one program, we need to use fork system call. How do we use that? You just say PID T, and I'll call it child. You can call it whatever, and we just use a fork system call. Okay, and to help you understand really quickly, so whenever we use a fork, we just creating a copy of the virtual address space, and whatever was already in here, it would just get copied over to the child process. All right. Okay, in order for us to go into the child process, we just say if child equals 0. All right, and here we're in the child process, and we need to put this part in our main. Okay, I'm gonna get to the pipe very soon. Okay, let's say we create a message in our child process. We have a message here. We say hello. Can't we print it here? Okay, while you're thinking about, we can just try. Okay, so this is our main and this is our parent process. Okay, and now we create a child, PID T equals fork. Okay, and now we can go into our child by saying if child equals 0. Here we are in a child process. Need to return 0 here. Okay, let me just say child process, and else we are back to the parent. All right, so if we create constant char message here, and we say hello. Can we print it here? Okay, check this out. No, it wouldn't let us. We get an error, syntax error. Okay, and why? It's exactly because we had, so our parent process, let me show you again. So our parent process in here had a virtual address space, okay, with its data, okay, and when we created the child, we just took it and then we copied it over. So this is our parent and this is our child, and then whatever data was before we used the fork system call was in our table would get copied to the child. And when we put our message, just use a green for the child. When we put the message here, the parent doesn't see a message, right? Because this table was created after this table. So they don't get to see each other messages, right? And now we're gonna use the pipe to send the message over. Okay, so this is gonna be our pipe, and pipe has two ends. It has a right end, okay, equals 1, and it has a read end equals to 0. So what we're gonna do is we go into send the message through the pipe through the right end, and then we go into read in here in our parent process. And there are several steps that we need to follow. First is we need to declare a pipe. How do we declare a pipe? The pipe is just an integer array, and I'll call it my pipe. I must spell the pipe. My pipe of, we have 0 and 1 of two variables, and I also like to declare the read and write so we can use them later. Instead of just saying 0 and 1, we can just say read and write. And also the system call for pipe to create a pipe is just pipe, right, and my pipe. If we look at these tables right here, and what I told you is that the child process gets a copy of a parent process, and everything that was here would get copied into the child. So it makes sense that we need to put our pipe information before we use a fork system call, right? We need to put it all in here, otherwise our child would not know about the pipe, because what we want to do is we want to have pipe here and we want to have a pipe here without declaring a separate pipe. Okay, so this is our first step. Let's go ahead and do it. Let me declare our pipe. Okay, and we just say int my pipe, and it's an array of two integers. We have integer read, which is 0, and we have integer write, which is 1. Okay, now we need to use a pipe system call and just create my pipe. Don't forget the error checking, right? If it's equals -1, you give an error. Okay, so we created the pipe. Now we need to go into our child process. Okay, we already here and we created the message. So we're gonna follow and have 3 steps for both, to send the message and to receive the message. First step, so we close the end of the pipe that we don't use. Okay, second step is use the pipe, and the third step is close the end we just used. And let me just copy all the steps and I'll put them in here because we're just gonna repeat the steps. They're gonna be almost exactly the same. So the first step, we close in the end that we don't need. Let's look at our picture. We are in a child process right here. We want to send our message, send our message through the pipe. So we use in the right end. It means that the read end we are not gonna be using in the child process. Okay, we can go ahead and close this my pipe. We can close this end and just say close read. If you didn't declare read and write, you can just say close 0. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna write. We use a write system call. A write system call has 3 parameters. First, it takes a file descriptor where the data is going to be written, and the data is going to be written to the pipe, my pipe, to the right end. Okay, the second parameter is a pointer to where the data is going to be written to. Okay, and it's going to be written to our message. Okay, and then we need the third parameter, which is going to be a length of our message. It's a string length and our message. Okay, and now the last step is we're just going to close the end that we just used, my pipe. And which end did we use? It's a right end. Okay, and we can go back here and just repeat the steps. So first we need to declare our message, and this is really just a buffer. Okay, so you can give whatever length you want. I'm calling it message just so we can see that we'll be able to print this message in here, but you can call it whatever. Okay, then we need to close the end that we don't use. And if we look at the picture, we are transmitting the data from the pipe into the parents process. So we're not using this right end, we're only using the read end. Okay, let's go ahead and close my pipe. You go and close the right end. And now we can use the pipe. What do we need to do is we just read and we say my pipe. The parameters are the same as in a write system call. We just use the opposite file descriptors. My pipe read, and then we say, what do we read? Message. And then we read the size of our buffer, and I called it the message. Okay, we can also add here, we can say we use size t, amount of bytes read equal. So we can check here. Let's close the end first. Okay, let's go to our third step and close the end. that we just used, my pipe, and let me close this end. Okay, and now we can check if bytes read more than 0. Let's go and print our message. We say, again, we say parent got the message. Okay, let's try to compile it. Okay, parent got the message. Well, what if you want to send a message from the parent to the child? So if you want to send a message from the parent to the child, what do you need to do? Well, now we already know what we need to do. Easy peasy. Let me just separate it so we know what we need to copy. Okay, we'll take this part and we just put it into the child process. Here's our child process. We put it here and we take the part from our child process and we put it into our parent process. Okay, so we just swapped parent and a child. And what do we want to say? Child got the message. Okay, let's try. Okay, compiled, and child got the message. Perfect. If you want, you can add another child and send a message from the child to the child and do all sorts of stuff. So I hope it helped.